Well, the little schlubs have grown up, and they're down in Wall Street, and they're debating and agonizing over whether to sew their sleeping bags. You know, my question for why do you need sleeping bags? I thought global warming was taking place. What do you mean it's going to get chilly? You stupid idiots. Sorry. Dial it back, Rush. Folks, I'm sorry. You know, I just get passionate about this. I just don't suffer fools very well. And my mom always told me not to laugh at people dumber than me. That makes it, I don't laugh very much if I follow what she says. Sometimes I can't help it. As bad as I try, as much as I try to live the life my mother raised me to live, sometimes I just can't help but laughing at these people. And if I don't laugh, what's the point of that? 30 years ago, do it for the children. There they are. Well, if that's what we created with all that stupid coddling and conflict resolution classes and self-esteem classes, then we are punked. But thankfully, folks, these people, this is not spontaneous, and it's a real minority. But the way these people are being treated versus the Tea Party, I'm going to show you that here in just a second via audio sound bites. But labor unions are part of this. MoveOn.org is part of this. So the labor unions now stand for socialism. They do. If you listen to Trumka, if you listen to son of a bitch Jimmy Hoffa, well, folks, call us sons of bitches. I'd take it back. I was just trying to be funny. It was inappropriate. They did, but if you listen to it, it's all socialists. But is that what union members believe? Some of these union members, really, they're hard workers. Some of the union rank and file work hard. Some of the jobs those people have, coal miners, this is hard work. They break their backs. Do they think that their taxes ought to go to people for free college and free health care and guaranteed jobs? I'm talking about the rank and file. Do they think they ought to be breaking their backs for this spoiled, rotten bunch of kids down on Wall Street? Is that what labor union members believe? Because their bosses are supporting it now. Their bosses are funding it. Their bosses are underwriting it. My guess is that there is a whole lot of Reagan Democrats in these labor unions. There are a whole lot of conservatives in these labor unions. They've got no control over how their dues are spent. But they do control how they vote. And I don't think they support the welfare state like this. You used to talk about welfare queens. We now have welfare punks. You Wall Street people, you Occupy Wall Street. What is sleeping bags? Why not just a cardboard box? That's been shown to work well. You can find under these dilapidated bridges in this country a lot of people sleeping in cardboard boxes underneath them. You know what I think we ought to do, ladies and gentlemen? Call for a union tax. And I am not kidding. Unions are like corporations now. They have executive management. They have boards of directors. They have shareholders in the form of members. And they have employees in the form of staff. And we hear all this talk about paying your fair share. We hear all this talk about raising revenue to pay for jobs. So why is it that large, wealthy, cash-rich organizations are exempt from paying the federal corporate income tax? I am absolutely serious about this. How come the unions get away with not being taxed? Why should we accept as a given a policy set decades ago by the progressives giving favored treatment to unions, which are essentially just corporate entities of their own? No, I'm serious. Look, at these people have hundreds of millions of dollars to use for politics. Why can't they afford their fair share, as the liberals like to call it? No matter how many union members are out of work, the money is always found in the hundreds of millions to donate to Democrats. The unions exist to fund the Democrat Party more than they exist to ensure jobs for the rank and file. Now, private sector unionization is less than 10% of the workforce, but they have enormous clout because the government has set them up with protections, including favored tax treatment. All we hear about oil company subsidies and other rich corporations with all their tax breaks. And we never hear about the fact that the unions are protected, including with favored tax treatment. They're not churches. They're not shelters. They're not food kitchens. They're not charities. Rich unions should not be protected. Liberals want to talk about corporations and profits. Well, how about rich unions that don't pay 1 penny in federal income tax, and they make lots of profits? They shouldn't be tax exempt. There. You know what? I just swerved into it. Okay, back to audio soundbites 29 to 30. Going to replay this one for you. Afternoon today, CNN's newsroom, the info babe, Randy Kay, spoke with Occupy Wall Street, quote-unquote, volunteer Bill Dobbs. She said, so many issues here at play. There's the issue of unemployment. It's so terrible. Corporate greed, the environment, the wealth disparity. In terms of what your group wants, at the end of the day, what do you think you can actually gain?
To try and get more people involved is a huge effort because many of us are cynical, feeling despair, and angry. And this protest has tapped into that anger. Not only are people here because they've lost jobs, they've got really big student loan payments, but they also find when they come down to Occupy Wall Street and other protests that are beginning around the country, they find some community and they find some joy and some hope that there's going to be a difference if more of us roll up our sleeves.
That's a walking cliche. Right out of Central Casting, exactly right. They find some community and they find some joy and some hope that there's going to be a difference if more of us roll up our sleeves. What? No sleeping bags. No sleeping bags, and they don't have any doctors, nurses, or clean water. They're asking for all that to be donated. They want the doctors to donate the services, the nurses. See, they can't pay for anything. That's capitalist. That's how they write it and spell it on their website. So then the info babe said, well, you know, some people are looking at your group and what they see is a sort of a version of a liberal Tea Party. Is that how you see yourself?
A lot of different viewpoints are represented in this crowd and our supporters around the country. The idea that the next generation might do as well as some of us now is a smashed dream. So the outcry down here, right now, there isn't a central major demand or slogan, but what it enables others to do is to bring their own issues.
What does that mean? It enables others to bring their own issues. What, do you cook the issues? Do you eat them? What's the point of bringing them? Anyway, that's how CNN treated a volunteer at the Occupy Wall Street protest. But let's go back. April 15th of 2009, CNN's newsroom. Wait a second. It's the same show. CNN's newsroom in 2009, the info babe is Susan Rosgen, or Rosgen, and she was reporting live from a Chicago Tea Party. And here is a portion of an exchange she had with an unidentified Tea Party, a bunch of them, Tea Party protesters. And you will hear the info babe, Kira Phillips, the CNN info babe, then defending the CNN correspondent, Susan Rosgen, whatever, because I guess this gets pretty heated. So the info babe says to the Tea Party protester, why are you here today, sir?
Because I hear a president say that he believed in what Lincoln stood for. Lincoln's primary thing was he believed that people had the right to liberty and they had the right...
Sir, what does this have to do with taxes? What does this have to do with your taxes? Do you realize that you're eligible for a $400 credit?
Finish my point. Lincoln believed that people had the right to share in the fruits of their own labor and that government should not take it. And we have clearly gotten to that point.
Wait, did you know that the state of Lincoln gets $50 billion out of these stimulus? That's $50 billion for this state, sir.
Ma'am, can you stop this, sir? Hold on.
Okay, well, Kira, we'll move on over here. I think you get the general tenor of this. It's anti-government, anti-CNN, since this is highly promoted by the right-wing conservative network, Fox. And since I can't really hear much more, and I think this is not really family viewing, toss it back to you, Kira.
Wow, that is the prime example of what we're following across the country there.
Yeah, so that's how CNN treated the Tea Party versus how they treated the numbnuts guy down at the Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street protest. Sir, are you aware that the state of Lincoln gets $50 billion out of this? The answer is, yeah, it's my money. Where do you think the money's coming from, you idiot info babe? We're raising taxes to give Illinois $50 billion. Let them come up with their own money. We're already taxed enough. And by the way, the news media, the CNNs, they're out there hiding the worst signs that the Wall Street protesters are carrying around with the Tea Party. They went so far, went out of their way to find crazy signs from the Tea Party. Where are all the complaints? Where are all of the complaints about the Occupy Wall Street racial makeup? All these protesters are young and white. Why are there no complaints about the lack of diversity in the Occupy Wall Street crowd? What happened to all that joy? What happened to all that joy in 2008? The only thing this guy didn't say is that he wants world peace and to roll up your sleeves, work or whatever. It didn't explain what he wants. They want hope and change and community and joy, but all this stuff they're mad at. Student loans, people lost their jobs. These people support the guy who's responsible for this. Anyway, it's a tool. He's a tool. He's a useful idiot. They all are. They're just, how can you say that about these people? It happens to be true, folks. Sorry.